Good evening, all. It's one of those days where I'm just actually starting to feel a bit tired. Like 10 minutes ago, I was actually feeling um, a bit energetic, only to have a wave of tiredness just kick in, which is suppose what happens when you do a bike ride of a virtual version of Up the Wes, which is known as in France.
You are a toy!
Oh, hello, Cato. You absolute beautiful sweet bean. Thank you for the follow, and also to Fragilities, I think it is. You can follow probably about, listen, not a minute into the stream, but Cato, you absolute cutie. I see you there. I see you doing a lurky. Um, oh, yeah, I totally don't. So we'll get into the game. Some trucking stuff. Okay, oh, shut up. I will keep quiet. Yeah, truck driving. I'm gonna load up more of my podcasts to listen to. I will listen to music, but there's a lot of DMCA going around. Plus, I want to get to these podcasts and stuff. So, it's back with Mario Andretti for this one.
You know, you look at his career was peaks and valleys, and but when
There's
you're
about
with
30
him,
minutes
you
left of
know,
this.
during the peaks, you're going to be world champion.
Probably go down a little bit
Timing just worked out fantastic.
so I can hear it.
Here's a negative.
And give
I'm
me the
with
game.
the American team, with the Wells Pernelli Jones.
Alright,
They decided to pull the rug from under us right at the beginning of the '76
let's
season. And they said, without even discussing
Give
it
us a
with me,
foot.
and I was the one that put the whole deal together with Firestone. That's who was really financing it. And so at Long Beach,
Okay,
I'm on the grid,
those
and
mirrors.
Chris Economy comes in. Mario says, how do you feel about Val just told me that this is the last Formula One race for you? I said, what?
Just pause it quickly. Villainous. So we go. Okay, so a bit of a cheat here. Nope, that's not how it's pronounced. I think I know. How do you spell this thing? Bloody hell. Vilnius. Right. Now let the map up. Right here. And things rendering. Okay then. That's a get there that I probably shouldn't get into. No? Oh, wait. Does the teleport thing not work anymore? Because remember being F9 to teleport in. They might have changed it. I'm hoping not, because that's going to screw this over. No, that's screenshot. That's that. No. Great. Okay. Time out. Let's do some Googling. I feel like it might have changed. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Alright, teleport not working 1.41. New air teleport is pressing Control F9. Cool. There we go. That's better. Alright, give it a U. Let's fire the bad boy up.
Okay, here we go. Turn right.
Both ways, we're going across. Alrighty then. Got the microphone's way too close to my mouth. It's also in my field of view. Alright, insulated B double. Always go B doubles. Because they're better. They are better than everything else. More enjoyable. Nice tire turning. Flip back across.
Let's do this.
That's better. Should also get my headlights on. That would help. Adjust lights. Oops. Okay, we want some position as always. Boom. My boy Rex from Eevee. Scanning your logo as always. Nice wide turn. The gate to open up. Get the indicator on. Turn spin made. Clear left, clear right.
Turn
Okay.
left.
There we go. Easy. Let's hope the rest of the ride is as easy as this. It better be.
Get ready to turn right. Turn right.
I believe villainous. But up to 80k an hour. About 1,500 kilometers of fuel left. Not too bad. Cruise control on. See a truck wanting to merge ahead. Right, let's go podcast back up.
You're in the car.
On the grid about a couple minutes before the go, and holy man, I was, and then.
Were you?
Keep
How
right.
surprised were you? I mean, when you had time to reflect on it later.
Oh my goodness! I mean, I was so upset. I was so upset. And the next morning, you got to hear
That
that
was risky.
story because that's how Colin and I got together. I think Colin had the worst race of his career. This is the time when Colin was he's very ambitious, and he had the boat company started, car company. He had so many things going, and the racing was just, not in his mind. That was he was kind of going through a transition. And the next morning, we're both staying at the Queensway Hilton, they call it, right next to the Queen Mary, actually. And I just went to have breakfast. I was by myself, and
How were you feeling that morning? Because you just driven your
it was
last race.
one of the lowest lows. And I had my chin in my socks for sure. And so I'm looking, and there's Colin having breakfast by himself. So I joined, and we started commiserating with one another. And I said, Colin, I'm out of a drive, He says, man, I wish I had a decent car to give you. I said, can you give me a car? He says, are you sure? I said, yes. I said, I want to be in Formula One. I committed to be in Formula One for whatever time now to get the job done. I said, and I'm not ready. I said, I told him about the surprise that was handed to me, and he said, you got it. I said, one thing, I want to be number one on the team, because I knew that there were no two best of anything. I knew that. Even when I was driving in this number 3rd car, I had all junk engines and everything else, spare parts, because Maurice Philippe used to tell me that's why my first race, the clutch just, started slipping immediately and stuff like that. So I said, Colin, number one. He says, you're in. I said, he said, I'm embarrassed with the car that I have. I said, we'll make it
Go
better.
straight on.
We'll just make it better. And we worked on it. In fact, we were getting better.
Choo
We got a
choo.
couple podiums. And then, we won the very last race, as you saw.
Lap the field at
Yeah.
Fuji.
Well, not only that, but we were quickest on the dry, so it was not just the wet. We were on pole in the dry, so we were getting there, But he said, I don't know what we have in store. He says, but next year's car is going to make this one look like a London bus. I'll never forget that.
Collinson.
Typical. So we were.
So that's
on,
how it all started, over breakfast
Yes,
in Long Beach.
Long Beach.
And do you feel that because you went through, you showed so much trust in him, that is
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of, so the relationship got off to a good start, the trust was there, and he built
Absolutely.
upwards from there.
Absolutely, we were in it,
It's a long way.
together, and this is one thing that it was, we discussed
go.
about. I said, Colin, you have to come back racing, 100%. I said you have to delegate. I said responsibilities for your boat company, the car company. I said we got to race, and he did, and so that was a big thing.
So, I mean, let's talk 77. First and only American to win the US Grand Prix. Big moment. We've already kind of discussed that. But then, what was it like to drive a Skirts car for the first time?
Well,
No
that,
trains.
Skirts being ground effect for...
well,
Jesus Christ,
we.
Jesus Christ, buddy.
It's a long story about how we arrived. The car was not really designed, to be really ground effects at the beginning. When we were discussing about the next, we were in Hethel, and we were talking about, what everybody is out there, giving input, giving ideas, what we should be doing for next year. And they look at the driver, and I said, from a driver's standpoint, what do I want? I want downforce. I said, without drag penalty. And the one thing, I gave him an example that when I drove the March back in 1970, I think it was, and we were testing in South Africa. The March had like a wing-shaped pods on the side, which were just strictly aerodynamic. And so I was there driving for Granatelli. It was, just a small team. And so we were testing different things, but because of normally aspirated engine, high altitude, the power was down. So I was trying to strip as much drag out of the car as I thought that I could without really having had any data, on wind tunnel or anything else. And I knew that Robin Hurd was pretty sharp, aerodynamicist. And so anyway, I said, let's take those things off the side. So we bolted them off. And I went out there, and all of a sudden I'm really flying the front end. So I had to use a lot more front wing, which all of a sudden I figured, those are providing downforce. And that's when I said to Colin, I told him about that. And they said, and that's when he built the whole body. It was all a wing shape. And then he said, you build a wing shape and then you put a fence so you can direct the air. So we were testing in Hockenheim, and at the end of the main straightaway, there was I don't know if they called it Bosch curve, but there was, no, Bosch curve, I think it's in Austria.
Yeah, Bosch curve is Austria.
Yeah, but there was the right-hander that connected the two straightaway. It was a long radius right-hander, and going through like the middle of the right-hander, the car felt like it was really sucking down, which I was closing the gap. We didn't have skirts at the time. And
Go
so
straight on.
I'm saying, calling us, I'm telling you, right in the middle, I'm picking up a lot of downforce. And so he sent Bob Dance to town to buy some plastic strips. So we put plastic strips on there, and I went out there, set a track record immediately. And I said, we have something. I said, but those strips, they're going to last 2 laps, 1 lap, 2 laps, or whatever. And so, and that's when we ran several races with just a brush.
It's a big
You ever
wide
see
zone.
that?
Oh, I've seen pictures of it.
The
Yeah.
brushes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you could see, and he had, what was it, Phillips, what was the photographer? Famous photographer. He had him photographing the car in different areas to see just how where the airflow was and all that. And then Colin realized that we need to close that gap, and that's when he came up with the moving skirts. And that's how this thing was like a sequence, just learning things. And then you figure, well, now we need to really clean up the exit of the diffusers because of the airflow. The more airflow you get, the more downforce. And so, like I said, it was a process, but we were
Just
learning.
did it there a little bit. Not
Barry,
ideal.
It grew organically, didn't it? It started in a hardware store in Hockenheim when you went and bought some plastic curtain rails or whatever it was, and evolved from there.
Involved from there. But then he started. Then he went wind tunnel more, and then he realized that he needed a moving road because we're directing the air underneath the car. And then we started realizing how much of disruption the wheels turning. So he's the first one that came up with a moving road tunnel. And so there were so many things happening there. Just
How exciting.
Yeah.
Did you find that exciting? And
oh, I love that. I love the
Get ready to
development
turn
like
left.
that. I mean, as a driver, I mean, what do you want to do? Drive faster and faster through
Let's get
the
the engine
corners,
brake going.
to be able to do that. And
Turn left.
they got to the point that, back in, I'd say 80, 81, I mean, there was so much downforce. The cars were glued. And then they had to restrict it, because it was too much. I mean, like the Ferrari that I drove, the front wings were actually lifting the car, not putting it down to balance it. That was the Formula One cars of those years. There was so much front, COP toward the front that they had to use the front wings to raise the front, not to
Oh,
balance
goodness.
it.
If you're listening, guys, 2021 in the technical regulations in Formula One. That would
Yeah.
We'll get back to our chat with Mario in just a moment. But before we do, I wanted to tell you about something new that I've discovered. Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is a personal styling service that takes the work out of shopping and dressing well.
Two
And
cup.
In my case, it's simply finding the time to do it. Like everyone who works in Formula One, I travel a lot.
Hello,
and don't
sir.
have the time to trudge around the shops.
How are you
and when
today?
I'm at home, the absolute last thing I want
The
to
white
do is spend
people
it
boy?
shopping. Well, Stitch Fix has changed that. All I had to do was sign up and fill in a style quiz, which was no sweat. Just a few questions about the kind of clothes I like and the
96.
sizes I need. It took 5 minutes max. You're then assigned an online personal stylist who takes all of that information about you and handpicks 5 items of clothing from a selection of 100 of the best European brands and sends them straight to you. No fuss, which is exactly what I like in my life. You try before
gotta
you
relay
buy,
something on my
and
stream
are
deck.
only charged once you have decided.
Something doesn't want to work. No, it does. Right. Let's put back out. Yes, you are working, boy. Alright, delete that off my stream deck. Throw it back in. There we go. Right. That's for you. There is some avocado though. Oh well. I'll do this then. Boom. Yeah. Them shitouts. Just cause. Oh, of course Cutter's here. The absolute wonderful cutie that is Kato is here. I am checking something quickly. I keep on seeing something out of the corner of my eye and just thinking that it's actually, you know, a new message in chat, but it's not.
Which items to keep, and there will be a grid. That's Stitch
The first time you drove the 70.
fix.co.uk/grid. Right, let's get back to the final part of our chat with Mario.
Mario. It's
So
me,
Mario,
Mario.
1978. Did you know the first time you drove the 79 that was the car?
I just loved how clean it was. And then the same thing that what we're talking
Go
about,
straight on.
you know, the 77, Lotus 77 had, Lotus 78, I should say, had inboard rear brakes. And they were very much in the way of the airflow from the diffusers. And the 79 was still inboard brakes, but he really sucked them in. He made to the gearbox, which actually turned out to be a big disadvantage to us later on, because he had Hewland mold as part of the gearbox half of the brake calipers. So half of the brake calipers was magnesium, and instead of aluminum, and magnesium has a tendency to obviously flex. And so later on, that's another story. But the bottom line, though, however, as far as the flow, I remember we were in Belgium.
It's gonna
and
light
I
up.
know the year before, I had a really good
Bit
time.
brighter.
I had a good time qualifying and so forth, and then it crashed, at the start of the race. But I know the Lotus 78 was actually still a good car. But I know that Ronnie had tested the 79 at Understorp.
Your teammate Ronnie Peterson.
Yes. And I asked him, I said, how did the car feel? He says, like this. Okay, that's all I need to know. So, so I told Colin, I said, Colin, I'd like to race that test car. He said, no. He says, it's not ready. No, this. I said, Colin, I'm going to ask the mechanics if they can get it race ready. Well, you do that. So I did. The boy says, you want to race it? It will be race ready. And we raced it, and we won. But that's when we learned, I had pretty good lead, luckily, because I had to keep pumping the brakes. And this is something we had the whole season. And every time we would tell Colin, and because we were boiling the fluid, especially on full load at the beginning. And then you come in after the race, car cools down a little bit, you pump the brakes, you got brakes. What the hell you guys are talking about?
So the pedal just gets longer and longer the more you run the car.
Yes.
Yeah. God, I thought the car was perfect.
No, we had some issues.
Yeah.
Some
Do you
issues.
think
No car was
the
perfect.
sort of skirts era was particularly good for you in the way you like to drive a car?
Yes, it was. Yeah, indeed. Obviously, I felt the car was really responding, to the way I like, and I had my arms around it. I had a really good feel for things. The unfortunate thing is that as we got more and more downforce, the car, just like why did I abandon Lotus 80, the 80? I love the car, but only for a few laps. The car would just had so much more downforce, but the skin of the car, the tub, was basically the same as it was a Lotus 79. To me, I looked at it, was like a beautiful lady, well dressed, but with cancer, body with cancer. Because I know we were testing Paul Ricard, I think, and we were quick. I would be quick for like a few laps, and then the car just started acting weird. And then because I needed to go stiffer and stiffer in springs, and the spring purchase, we were starting to, to pop rivets, and so on and so forth. And he was strengthen that, and then we were getting some actual, where the driver compartment is, it's like a horseshoe like this. We needed to wrap it around, to give it more torsional stiffness, and he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't have of it because of weight and so on and so forth.
That extra weight,
yeah. And one thing that Colin never accepted, it was any suggestion on the technical side.
Flashing yellow lights.
To do something to the car. He used to go ballistic about that. Sometimes if I would suggest, why don't we do this and that? And he said, you drive.
But, so how would a debrief go after a session if you said,
no, he was fine about setup.
Setup, okay. So
setup
it's a design thing, right?
Design thing. He just didn't want to. And that's who we. That's the
Not
only
even
time
45
where he
minutes
and I
in, I'm already
disagreed,
inside.
Because I was watching, the following year, like the Williams, they built the right car. A lot of things, they took what Colin had and they perfected it. And Colin was already thinking about his next design. He was already bored with that. But the next design actually would turn out to be illegal, which we all knew, But the beauty about Colin is he's looking at the rules. He's like a crackerjack lawyer. You read the law. I mean, you gotta press that envelope. And that's what makes you a winner in court. And he is an engineer. He was reading the rules and getting everything out of the rules, right to the limit, leave nothing on the table. This time he stepped a little bit further because he was working with, talking with unsprung weight, trying to put downforce on the unsprung weight directly, which in a clever way, but it was illegal, and it never turned out to be. But like I said, the thing about Colin, as you can see, he was such a maverick, always thinking ahead. He was genius. And geniuses get bored very easily, with the status quo. And that's the way I read Colin, he wanted to win, but okay, we got this now. We go to the next step. Now we really get something,
What did your success in 78 mean to Colin, do you think?
What I loved about Colin, again, he would express his emotions I mean, just the classic throwing
Throwing the
his hat
cap
up
as
in
you cross the
air.
line, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. Colin loved to win it, and as a driver, I love to see that. You know, he crossed the line. I said, man, he was truly, truly happy. A winner, period. You know, and as a driver, there's so much encouragement. You know, when you see that. You know, you do it for yourself, but you know, when even the mechanics, when they express themselves, with the poor mechanics, they work so hard, and that's, you know, that's the thing. You know, that's what you strive for, and to win. And when they express themselves, you know, it's the greatest thing for a driver. For me, it was just, you know, make myself happy, but make them happy as well.
What was it like to ride the crest of that wave in '78? You've got a brilliant car. The vibe in the team is great between you and Ronnie and
yeah.
Colin.
Couldn't be any better. You know, it just it was.
Was it your most enjoyable? I mean, obviously the results.
No,
but
it was.
it the
Yeah,
best
it was
period?
incredibly enjoyable. Yeah, incredibly. It's what you dream about. It's you know, you pinch yourself. You know, I really live in this. You know, so.
Go straight
Yeah,
on.
all of that. And,
Took it nice and easy through here.
I just look back with such fondness. You know, everything that was going on, all the good, everything that Colin, what he gave me, you know, was something that was beyond precious. You know, and I never took it for granted.
Monza. That's where you win the title.
Itch my
How
foot.
tough
Right
was
foot.
it to lose your teammate that weekend?
It's hard to explain those things, you know. It was such a waste because he should not have died. He should not have died of those injuries. I did go over there when the accident happened. I ran over
Go
there.
straight on.
Colin said, don't go, and I think, you know, he would have been, actually, his legs were really bad condition, but I kept saying, I said, okay, he's going to be limping for a while, but he's going to live.
Was he conscious at that point?
No, I think he was somewhat delirious, you know, he was in shock for sure, because, you know, I tried to talk
Go
to him
straight
and
on.
so forth, he was in shock. I mean, that's understandable. But he was, not that his head was compromised or anything. I don't think they had any of those injuries. There was some fire. There was, you know, he had some burns. But basically, by any standard, you know, he should have never died. Not from an embolism, because when you have that type of injuries, immediately, I mean, you just dissolve. You get blood thinners and so on and so forth. He never got any of that. And that's, I will fault that forever. And that's when we hear again, you know, we're pushing, you know, for our own doctors. We have to have our own doctors to direct the locals to do what we need to do under these circumstances. And we achieved that.
How difficult was it to get back in the car, having seen Ronnie?
Well, you know, that was, you know, I hate to say it, you know, because it sounds so callous, you know, but that was never the issue for me. That was my job. And it was never, why do I do this or should I? Because I had seen too much of it before. But you never get used to it, believe me. It's not that you get used to it, but things are never the same. You know, you lose a friend, you lose that, and it was not the first friend that I had lost. And I couldn't celebrate for sure. I said this many times. This had to be, should have been, the happiest day of my career, for sure. And I couldn't celebrate. And I don't think we ever really did in earnest. The celebration is the rest of your lifetime, you know, it's there with you. But Deanne and I, we just, how, you know, because we were close to the family, with Barbara and the kids, you know, we used to spend time, our kids, you know, so it was more than just, we were teammates. He used to come, when he came to America, like he raced at the Glen, we'd come to the lake ourselves, we'd go crazy doing stuff, you know, as usual. And
Bit of hydrate.
we used to recreate, you know, in so many ways, and be competitive, raise hell, and have fun, you know. So it was, you know, we lost a true friend there, you know, and again, you know, it was just another one of those sad situations.
How quick was Ronnie?
It was quick. Ronnie was quick. He was quick, and I think what I had over him, I think I had the technical. I understood the technical side a little better, and that's what I felt that I had over him.
Do you
know,
think he learnt off you?
I don't know how to say that, but a lot of time I think he got my setups and so forth, and a lot of things, because I had pretty good understanding, you know, the cars. Cars were very sincere, very good, responded well. I mean, he had his own way of doing things too, but used to wind up with a lot of
In the city
with
we
my
come.
setups and so forth, because and he could drive over things, you know, just he had fantastic car control and all that sort of
All
thing.
these pictures I see of him woodcut at Silverstone,
Yeah.
sideways,
Yeah.
flat out.
Yeah, fun driver, you know. We just I loved him, man. I really did.
Mario, who was the best F1 driver you raced against, do you think?
It's hard to say. I think very calculated was Nicky, you know, in his own way. I think James really had a lot of talent,
Go straight on.
raw talent himself. You know, I raced enough with Jackie Stewart. There were moments, you know, where over the decades, there was always somebody, you know, that was really up here, and that's what keeps you motivated. Those are the ones that make you a better driver, because you know that you got work to do, and there's always someone that's better than you.
Scheckter?
Scheckter was is another one, you know, pure car control with him, hot and cold in some ways. You know, he's not the one that you
Keep
had
right,
to deal with race
then
in and
turn
race
right.
out, but good, you know. But on any given day, you know, hard to beat.
Mansell.
Very good.
Turn
Because, of
right.
course, you raced him in Formula 1, but you also raced him, you were his teammate in IndyCar. Nigel.
Nigel had pure talent, yeah, for sure.
Now look, Mario, yours was an amazing career. When were you at your peak?
It's hard to say, really. I think probably in my 30s, for sure. You know, in those days, as you could see, you were not legal, really, to race until today. Look at Verstappen, you know. He's already a veteran at, what, 22?
I think he's still 21, actually.
He's still 21, right? He's already a veteran. And in those days, you could not even... You
You could only get your license, you were
Yeah,
saying.
but even Formula One, had you ever seen in the...
Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question: do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Woody 53 Love.
XR5. 6 whole months. That's half a year, boyo. How do you feel? You feel old now? No. Much appreciated if you've sticking around for this long and been subbed for that long. Thanks a lot, dude. Hopefully you heard that notification. Don't know how loud it was for you guys. I mean, I could just hear it out of the volume. Yeah. Alright. I'll adjust the volume for it in Streamlabs. What? There we go. For some reason the boom gate wasn't going up. Blind spot check. I'll actually quickly check my settings on Streamlabs, alert box, subscriptions, Variations. Edit. Yeah, it's already at 100%. I'll tell you what. I'll replay it for you just so you can hear the full volume.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Woody 53 Love.
Yeah. There you go. It sounds a bit better. Can I even change the font? I feel like I can. Ah, no, here we go. Okay. Yeah. I'll edit the actual audio and make it a bit louder. That way you can be heard more easily. Anywho, back to my game and my podcast.
Years, you know, anyone, in early 20s? No. And so I felt I was still wet behind my ears when I was in mid-20s. You know, like when I won the championship here in IndyCars, I was 25, and I was the youngest champion to do it at that point. You know, nowadays, you know, it's a little different, you know, but I felt that, I truly felt that in my mid-30s, I was probably...
Get off the curbs, Woody.
Okay, so we're sort of mid-70s there. Does age make you slower?
Has to. I mean, you don't like to admit it, you know, and I wish there was a signal there somewhere to tell you. Sometimes you get burned out, whatever works. Sometimes there's something that obviously has to decrease. What kept me motivated also was my son Michael, you know, and being my teammate. Michael was brutally quick, and he really was. And I tell you, he got screwed over, you know, with McLaren, you know. But if he would have listened to me and just toughed it out, he would have been world champion. He was quicker than Mika Hakkinen.
Why didn't it work out for him at McLaren in 1993? He had a pretty nifty teammate. Didn't help, probably.
No, it helped. There was no big deal, actually.
Senna.
When you look, yeah, you know, he was.
It's
you
on
know,
my stream deck.
those
It's so hard to
days,
read
you know,
white
there was
text on
this,
white
Joe Ramirez.
previews.
There was something. He had something against Michael.
It's ridiculous.
I could tell you some stories, you know, that I actually don't want to say publicly, you know, as to how he was getting screwed big time. But here's what happened. The worst thing that happened is Michael.
Guess also
joined
happens
that
when you get a
team,
stream
and
deck that's
and he
really
got
small
top
font.
dollar from Ron Dennis, because Ayrton was going Williams, and Michael was going to be #1. And Ron Dennis got Mika Hakkinen from Lotus from nothing, basically. And all of a sudden he had 3 drivers, but 2 high-paid drivers. One had to go. And they did everything they could, you know, to make it uncomfortable for Michael. Because there was Mika Hakkinen sitting there doing nothing. And then when there was a test, they would use him, and they wouldn't even use Michael. In those days, the tests were restricted. And also remember, if you look at the
6 euros.
in those days,
6
practice
euros
was a
only.
limited amount of laps, 23 laps, the most you could do, counting in and out, and you could not test. Look back at the regulation.
It was a really bad time to come in.
That was the worst time. He went there at the worst time
It's
possible.
not the cost of a
from
Big
rules.
Mac.
He went with the best
Yeah, it's more
team
than that.
at the worst time because they lost the Honda power besides. Quite honestly, this thing with
But still.
Mika being there for free, and then him, you know, Ron having to pay, and then Michael's wife be so demanding, you know. on
There's
the
a few
other
that's sort of
side,
like,
there's a lot of
it
things
varies.
That, you know, we're working against Michael.
In terms of toll pay.
tremendously. The only thing that Michael could have done, if he would have had my character, he would have gone to Ron and says, you know, at the end of the year, because Ron said, "I'm going to run Mika," for the last 3-4 races, I think.
After Monza, yeah.
And I actually wanted to run it from Monza on. I begged him to let Michael run Monza, because for the obvious reasons. And then that's when Michael had the podium there, And Ayrton is not with us, but Ayrton had respect for Michael because after the race in Manicours,
Go straight
they
on.
tested the Monday and Tuesday, and they were both like within a tenth of one another. When Michael finally got his arms around what was going on, and he had the Series 7 and Ayrton had Series 8 engine, and so a lot of factors here. Here's what Michael needed to do: sit down with Ron and said, because Senna left right after that, and I said, Ron, I want to stay. I want to win a world championship with you. If he would have just said that, but he let his freaking manager, who was a nice guy, talk for him, and that was Michael's fault, in that respect. He got screwed the first year, but he could have toughed it out.
So you think there would have been the option to stay for 94?
Yeah.
If he'd shown a little bit more,
Here's Ron. All that Ron said to Michael, he says, I cannot promise you that I will renew you. I will pick up the option until November. That's what he said.
That's all brief.
And Michael felt, well, I'm not going to have a sabbatical, so, I'm out of here. Instead of sitting down and saying, I'll wait it out. I committed to Formula One. I want to stay in Formula One. And I think Ron would have,
Come on,
would have
get
worked
across.
out.
Get
Would have
across.
worked out,
There we go.
clearly. And so I fault Michael for that. And we talked
do you think
about
he
it.
regrets it now?
Oh, I think he does.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, look, what of all your achievements in your career, what is it you've won?
Ray.
109 major races, I
Hello,
think it is.
beautiful.
111?
Beautiful
Maths isn't my
cutie.
strong point, Mary. But of those races and of all that success,
Nice you to catch a
where do
stream
your F1
for
achievements
once.
stack up?
Well,
'Cause you're actually
obviously,
following me.
I think I should have devoted more time to Formula One,
good.
perhaps.
How is
Um,
you?
I have no regrets,
On this
because I
English
lay in
morning?
bed and sleep in it. And
Is it? No,
everything else.
afternoon.
But
Yeah.
that
Sounds
was
about
my
right.
ultimate dream, quite honestly. That's what got me interested.
I think
in
it's
the
almost 1
sport to
p.m. for you
begin with.
guys.
So doing some of the things like we said, just winning here and then winning Italy, the semi, all those things have tremendous meaning to me.
Yeah, and I
Not anyone
never
else,
streamed
but
much
I
actually
know
as well.
what it did for me,
Which
and the
doesn't help.
satisfaction that I
Yeah, you're
derive
9
from
hours
it.
behind me.
Formula One is still an absolute love for me, no question, will always be. Again, it's all I
it's
can say.
quarter to 10
I'm
here.
thankful that I gave
So
myself
take off 9
the
hours.
opportunity.
Problem
to,
solved.
devote 100% of the time, to Formula One for a period of my career. And thank you, Colin, for giving me what I needed. And again, my career would in
Yeah, I'm
any
just here
way
just
be anywhere.
chilling with some
near
Eurotruck, trying to get some achievements
going
towards
today
it.
without Formula One.
You say
I am
you
towing
committed more time. Do you mean just commit?
8 tons of
full
vaccines,
time
so I'm getting
earlier
COVID
than you did
vaccines
earlier?
from
Yes, I could have, if I would have
Russia, I think it was, to
Formula One,
Spain,
say,
which
in 1971.
seems odd.
Unfortunately, 72, 73 was not very
So many
good
cars
years
on the
for
road today
Ferrari.
as well.
Might not have been just as good, but at the same time, I
You're meant to be in
was offered,
lockdown, beeps.
And because I drove the 72 car, it was not good.
That kind of helps.
Also,
in
for
your
this
mind,
8
doesn't it?
ton
Yeah,
of
actually, I was
vaccines,
glad
they're
that
going
I
to pay
didn't,
me
because I drove it
340,000
in South Africa,
euros.
so, man, this car is not good. It's really, actually, was very flexible and all that. And,
These people have money to burn,
nevertheless,
apparently.
I think, again, things played out ultimately.
Here's the fun part.
Anyway,
Speed double trailer.
And, looking back,
Look at it.
I have no
Double
regrets,
trailer.
really, at the same time, things happen for a reason. And
Oh,
I got more
see a
than I
chopper there.
deserve out of the sport. That's something I know.
Any guys you wished you'd driven for in Formula One who you didn't? Maybe Bernie Ecclestone. I mean, you did a little bit for Frank, but not very much.
Oh, yes. Well, I would have. The mistake that I made when I came away from Lotus, I had the choice. I had the clear choice to go with McLaren or Alfa Romeo.
It's weird how
What made you go Alfa Romeo?
I've had this game for a while,
Hey,
but
tell
I'm
me.
now just enjoying it.
I felt the year before that Watkins
There's also a
Glen
chopper in my review
Giacomelli
now.
led the race. He had an issue at the
Yeah,
end. I
talk
figured
about zoning
it's
out. I've almost fallen
Alpha's
asleep
time.
already.
And somehow, this is one
'Cause
time
I'm
I
A,
went with my
tired,
heart instead of my brains.
And B, it's
And
just
that
sort
one I will regret.
It's
Try
a
not to
long,
dwell on
boring
that
drive
regret,
almost.
but that one I will regret.
Well, my final. I've so enjoyed this chat, Mario. It's been
Well, you could
wonderful.
almost
but
say boring.
Are there any more Andretti's to carry on the speed legacy? Do you think Marco, for example, has he got Formula One ambitions? Do you think he can do it?
I think it's too late for him. You know, it's. I think his opportunity might have been even when he tested for Honda in Jerez. I felt that he could have cultivated that one.
So we got 34 hours
And,
in-game driving, which is like
because
almost
this
2
was
hours in real time.
Certainly on the Honda side, there was no interest.
Yay!
And quite honestly, I can't make any excuses. You know, it had to be him to express himself. You know, nobody had to push me to do anything. So, and in all fairness, quite honestly, I must say that you know, I was brought up in a totally different environment. I was brought up in a situation where you can't have it, and I wanted it.
I actually might
And
go
he
to
was
bed
brought up
soon
in
and
a
like
situation you can have it if you want.
get back up and do a bit of a longer stream
Big
tomorrow
difference
morning.
in that. So it's hard to know where the real desire
Go
is.
do the sleeps.
And I think Marco, for one, is very happy. Obviously, I don't think he wants to do anything
Not as-
else. Only he
Yeah.
knows how much he really loves to drive.
Well, you certainly did. Mario, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Oh, drifting across the lane.
Well, there you have it. The living legend that is Mario Andretti. As cool as ever. And I don't know about you, but I could have listened to that fabulous Andretti accent all day. I took so much from our chat, but perhaps the biggest take-home message was his passion. He still loves racing in all of its forms, and the fire that made him such a formidable competitor is still there, burning as bright as ever. His emotion when talking about former teammate Ronnie Peterson was tangible, and his memory of events from more than 40 years ago was impressively sharp. And there are clearly a few things that still rankle him, not least his son Michael's season with McLaren back in 1993. Thanks for your time, Mario. I absolutely loved our chat. Well, that's about it for this week's very special episode, but there's just enough time to share a bit of feedback about last week's show with Takuma Sato. He was so articulate and, like Mario, so passionate about our sport. Taku was my hero, says Shoya on Twitter. Suzuka 2002 was my first ever live Formula One experience, and to this day I still remember everyone in the grandstand cheering when our hero drove past us. That moment still gives me goosebumps. Well, I was there too, Shia, and it sticks in the memory as one of the great emotional moments in Japanese Grand Prix history. Thanks for the feedback, and please keep it coming because we love it. Remember to use the hashtag F1BeyondTheGrid, and you can tweet me at TomClarksonF1. And if you enjoyed the episode with Mario, why not leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast app? It really helps others to find and enjoy the show, and that's all we want to do, share our passion for this wonderful sport. Beyond the Grid is produced by F1 in association with Audioboo. Until next time, keep it flat out.
Alright, so one more done.
Hi, this is Mario Andretti, and you are listening to Beer.
Okay. So we've heard, it's me, Mario.
Go straight on.
Yep. Yes, nice. Nice.
Nice.
E.
Go straight on.
Right. Let me just pause the game to actually get the new podcast up. Because I'm not wrecking this truck. No, sir, no, I'm not.
I'm Franz Toast, the principal of Scuderia Toro Rosso, and you are listening to me Beyond the Grid.
Hi everyone, Tom Clarkson here, and welcome to Beyond the Grid, presented by the new Bose noise-cancelling headphones 700. Now, with Frank Williams no longer playing an active role at Williams F1, my guest this week is, believe it or not, the second longest serving team principal in the pit lane. He got the nod from Dietrich Mateschitz to lead Toro Rosso back in 2006, since when he's overseen the team's transformation from bit part player to bona fide Formula One constructor. I'm talking, of course, about Franz Tost. Franz has been with Toro Rosso for 14 years, but his first contact with F1 came earlier, first with Ralf Schumacher and then with BMW when they were engine partners with Williams. And like so many Austrians involved in motorsport, it was a fascination with 1970 world champion Jochen Rindt that got him interested in the first place. When I first suggested that we sit down and do this podcast, Franz was surprised that people would be interested in his story. But as you're about to find out, his career has been a fascinating ride with many unexpected twists and turns. He raced against Stefan Bellof, for goodness sake, and I bet you didn't know that. Our conversation meandered effortlessly from one topic to another, including that famous Sebastian Vettel win at Monza in 2008 on Toro Rosso's Day of Days, to Franz's management approach with Red Bull's younger drivers. I hope you enjoy it. Well, Franz, thank you for coming on the show. It's lovely to have you on. Now, you are the second longest serving team principal in the pit lane. When I say that, does that surprise you?
Not so much, because when I look around, there are many people whom I know since long, and they're also still in here. And regarding the team principals, I'm not aware that I'm the second longest working team principal in Formula One. But maybe it's something good, it's something not so good, I don't know. I don't care about such statistical things.
I appreciate that, but do you stop just for a second and take any pride from that? Because a lot of guys have come and gone in the time that you've been here.
Yeah, but there are different reasons behind this, and maybe
And if I left
that I
600
am
Ks.
still here in Formula One, and I like
You can just
the job, I must say.
lean forward
I
and
love
just see
to
it
work in
rather than
Formula
looking
One,
down and try and get past
and I
Rex's
hope
big
to
fat nose.
Continue another couple of years.
Let's cast our minds back to 2006, your first season. What was it like back then as a team boss? Because of course Flavio Briatore was still around back then. There were Ron Dennis's and all these guys were still around. Was it a very different atmosphere, do you think, in the team principal meetings compared to now?
It depended on the topics. There were a lot of discussions. It was 2008, 2009, when we were at arbitration with Toro Rosso, because you know, the original philosophy from Red Bull was that we should educate young drivers from the Red Bull driver pool, and B, we should use all the synergies with Red Bull technology. And this is how everything started. I remember back in 2006, we had the car from Red Bull, which they raced the year before. It was the V10 engine in there, and we had an air restrictor because this was the time when the others used the V8. And
Go straight on.
it was good racing. We were
That's right.
competitive. Then 2007, we had the first, I call it now, Red Bull technology chassis, but we always had another engine in there, yeah, because Red Bull originally had a Ferrari contract, and when then Adrian Newey came there, they decided to change to the Renault, and therefore we got this Ferrari engine, and Red Bull Racing was out with the Renault engine and we with the Ferrari engine. Therefore, we never had completely the same car. It was in the back always different. But 2007 and then especially 2008, we were successful. Maybe for some of the other team principals, too successful. And then they started to work against us. And in my opinion, we did everything right. In those days,
It's a cut
we
for business
matched
for
to the
Formula One.
regulation. And then I remember back to the team principal meetings when they were quite aggressive towards Toro Rosso, towards me. But to be honest, I didn't care. And I remember once when Dennis said, we will close the doors, and I said, you are not the judge. The judge will decide, not you. You don't decide anything. And I didn't care about them, to be honest.
The Piranha Club. Ron Dennis always used to talk about Formula One being the Piranha Club, didn't he? I love hearing you talk about 2008. I remember Mark Webber and David Coulthard saying that your car was much better than their car in 2008. And of course, Sebastian Vettel went on and won at Monza.
Our car was good. It was an Adrian Newey car. Therefore, it was a very good car. But we had also a very, very good driver in comparison to others.
Well, look, let's talk about Monza then, 2008. What are your memories of that weekend?
First of all, when we came to Monza, I thought that we have a good car because the Ferrari engine was quite strong. And from the chassis side, as I mentioned before, we had a very, very good level, and I expected that we were competitive. And when it started then raining,
It's actually the first time Toro Rosso won a Formula
on
One race in
Friday,
2008.
then we said to the drivers,
Then won
please
again
go
in
out,
2020.
because the weather forecast told us that
Also at
it's
Monza.
probably wet on Saturday as well as on Sunday. And I know Monza is not easy under wet conditions, because especially in the back of the track, the less moss, there is the wood, and the water does not go away. You know, it comes always then back. And we said to the drivers, please do as many laps, drive different lines, look where the water is standing, and that you are prepared for the qualifying and for the race. And then I just remember in qualifying, when it came to the end, and Sebastian was in front, and then I saw that some others went out with intermediates, then I was clear, and I remember saying to Gerhard that they have no chance, because under these conditions you can't go out with the intermediates. And then Sebastian was on pole position, and on Sunday the race I hoped that there is another standing start, and it was then a start behind the safety car, which I think was also important, because it's always a risk to start under wet conditions. And Sebastian
Just a
drove
cheeky double lane
fantastic,
maneuver, just curious,
first,
petrol.
lap, was immediately
Rerouting.
in front, and then, you know, he had free air in front of him, and this was very, very important, and he drove a really good race.
How cool was he under pressure?
He was very cool. He was very. It looked like he was in Formula One since 10-15 years, and I think the emotions came then later. But during driving, he was just focused and concentrated, and not too much communication via radio. Only the most important things, and this showed that he was really very concentrated, not making any mistake, and therefore he could win this race.
I'll never forget, a couple of weeks after that Monza race, I went and climbed Mount Fuji with Sebastian, and I had to get your permission. And you looked at me and you went, if he's unable to drive at the next race, I will kill you. I remember you saying that, because Sebastian had just overnight, to the, at least to the world at large, overnight he'd become a sensation. But I guess it wasn't a surprise to you.
The reason why I was worried about the Fuji Mountain is I was there, and it can be very cold up there, and it's frozen. The ground is frozen, and I was there in August, and it was really very cold over there. We went up, we started I think at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we came out there, I don't remember, 8 o'clock or something like this, yeah. And it was around half an hour blue sky, fantastic view. It was really unbelievable, this panorama over there, yeah. And within another 10 minutes, the clouds came, and you couldn't see anything anymore. And I'm coming from the mountains. I know what to do then, yeah. But if people are over there, and if they are unexperienced, then it's dangerous. It's not steep, but if the floor is frozen and you don't know where to go, it can become dangerous. Yeah? And nowadays, I think it's people are not allowed to go up to the Fujiman anytime. I think it's
Right.
only in a
Stay in
separate,
this lane.
special period over the year.
I think it shuts in September.
Yes,
doesn't it?
yes, because it's so dangerous and so many people died
Yeah.
over there. And this is what I meant, yeah? Go up there,
So
but
can I tell you
if he is being injured afterwards or something, then we will have both together a big problem.
Franz, can I tell you what he did at the top? So we got to the top
Yeah.
and we climbed at night because Sebastian wanted to see the sun come up. And
Yeah.
it was beautiful, I have to say. But it was really cold.
Yeah.
And he said to me, how do we get down? And I said, well, I suppose we go back down the way we've come up. And he said, no, it's too cold. It'll take too long. He skied the scree. So he literally just jumped off the top of Mount Fuji and skied the vertical scree down. And I just went, oh, I just thought of you. I was going, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah,
oh
no.
my goodness, what am I going to tell Franz?
And this is what I immediately had in my head, thinking about such activities, because you can be injured so fast over there, and that's the danger. Once more, it's not they're not stones, it's not, no, it's grass over there, but if it's so cold and if everything is frozen, it's simply dangerous.
Do you love the Japanese culture? Because you say you were there in August during the summer break.
I lived there 1 year in Japan.
Oh, with Ralf Schumacher.
I was there when Ralf did Formula Nippon and GT racing, and we lived there over a year, and it was fantastic. I like Japan. It's a very, very interesting country. It's a very good culture, I must say, and the Japanese food for me is the best all over the world.
Where did you live when you were in Japan?
We lived in Yamanakako. Watashi tachi wa Yamanakako sundemashita.
You're going to have to help me. Where is that relative to Tokyo?
That's on the Yamanakako Lake. It's just on the foot of the Fuji mountain. It's 15 minutes from the racetrack, from the Fuji racetrack. It's
Okay, no worries,
in
right?
Gotemba.
Gotemba, okay,
Catch you
that's
when you
where we
get back,
stayed
you-
for the, where I
Yes,
stayed for the trip.
exactly.
Wonderful cutie.
Well, what a weekend in Austin that was. Incredible scenes after the race as
Right.
Lewis Hamilton celebrated wrapping up title number 6. The man is a phenomenon. And each week we see such skill on track. And if you're anything like me, you're always hungry for more. Well, luckily for us, Amazon Web Services can help. F1 uses
Finish
machine
up
learning
about
and predictive
20
modeling
or 30
built on
minutes.
AWS to create critical race performance statistics, make race predictions, and give fans insight into the split-second decisions made by teams and drivers. That means F1 can pinpoint how a driver is performing and share these insights over television and digital platforms all over the world. With AWS, you can rely on the pit strategy battle function to show you the predicted gap between drivers after pit stops, as it analyzes how successful each driver's strategy will be. While the battle forecast function keeps you at the heart of the action and developing driver battles during the race, and it's all powered by AWS's incredible machine learning and data analytics. So next time you're watching your favorite F1 driver and wondering how they get all those awesome insights, just remember, AWS is how. Find out more at aws.com/F1 Insights. That's aws.com/F1 Insights. Now let's get back to Franz.
Now, you mentioned earlier when we were talking about Monza, you mentioned Gerhard Berger, who of course was a shareholder in the team early on,
Yes.
wasn't he? What was Gerhard like to work with? Because you'd also worked with him when you were at BMW as well.
Yeah. I know Gerhard since a long time, since Formula 4 times. I know him, yeah. And I had and have a very, very good relationship with Gerhard. and it was such a nice time when we worked together, and it was also a very successful time. And Gerhard
Not
is
gonna lie, it's starting to feel very
person,
slow.
you know, when he was driving, for me he was in those days one of
max
the
speed at
fastest
80k an hour
drivers.
on the
From the natural
German
speed,
Autobahn.
he was not
Yeah,
slower than
thanks.
Senna. He was also sometimes faster than him, but of course his his work apart from the racetrack was maybe not as professional as it should have been, and he had maybe some other things in his head, but the working together with Gerhard was fantastic.
How integral was Gerhard in the creation of Toro Rosso? Because I know that there were some people during, you know, when Dietrich Mateschitz bought what was the Jaguar team, there were some people saying, Dietrich, don't do Toro Rosso. It's hard enough to win in Formula One with one team, let alone two. Do you think Gerhard was instrumental in persuading Mateschitz to do the Toro Rosso thing?
This I don't know. Gerhard is a close friend of Dietrich Mateschitz, and when Gerhard joined us in was 2007, then we discussed everything, also together with Mateschitz, all the different steps. But Mateschitz was always involved in any decisions regarding Toro Rosso, as it's the case also now. It's not that we make any major decisions without the involvement of Mateschitz.
Look, we're going to come on to current day Toro Rosso, but
120k
I
an
just
hour
want to
limit, and I'm doing
investigate
80.
your history
Yay,
and
for speed
passion
limits.
for motorsport, because I don't know how many people know this, but you were the Austrian Formula Ford champion. What is it? What are we talking? 1983. And then you went on to F3 and things. Now, don't be modest, but tell me about your racing career, because I think a lot of people listening to this may not be aware that you were a driver.
The driver is good. I was rolling around, yeah. No, it was, you know, I was always passionate about motorsport, and I think everything
AI.
started with Jochen Rindt, yeah, because I was a big Jochen Rindt fan, and knew everything, read everything about Jochen Rindt, and wanted to try racing, and bought a Formula Ford, and raced then in Formula Ford. And I must say, in those days, in Austria, there was really good Formula Ford scene, yeah, and Walter Lechner.
Oi, 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 oi. I am indeed getting tired.
Racing field, yeah, we had a national championship. We were also racing international, and there
God
were
damn it.
always 20, 25, 30 cars on the starting grid, and it was a fantastic time. And I remember when I was the last time in Austria, during the Grand Prix, I met some friends of mine, and I said, hey, what's going on with the Austrian motorsport scene? And they said to me, there's no money, no money. And I said, hey, gents, they can't have less money than us. Because I remember back, my parents had to pick me up 3 times because I ran out of fuel coming home. Yeah, and when I called them at 2 o'clock, hey, I am in Wörgl, please can you pick me up? What do you do in Wörgl? Yeah, I ran out of fuel. And then they came to me, we put in some fuel, and then with my transport I went home. And then my mother said, can you not put 100 shilling on the side just for reserve? I said, Mama, I did it already, but so bad. The next race we were on the starting grid, but it's not only me. It was the same with all the others. And it was also in those days, we didn't sleep in hotels. We all slept at the racetrack. We were there, we came there Wednesday, Thursday, and then the
Right.
complete starting
6 more
grid,
minutes.
all of the
Let's
Formula
try and
4
last day
drivers,
out.
we were sleeping in the transporters. This was normal.
But then F3 then came. I mean, do you think, Franz, if you'd had, you know, a decent sponsor behind you, or if you'd had a break, you could have made it as a professional racing driver?
Don't think so. I call myself, I was a learner. After 100,000 laps, I was fast. But, you know, to become really a successful driver, you must be immediately fast. And I remember back, there were 2 crucial events. One with Gerhard. He was driving before Alfa Sud Cup, and then he was coming to a Formula Ford race, and he was immediately in front, you know, without testing a long time in Austria. Another example was Stefan Bellof. Yeah, I was racing those days. Stefan came, sat into the car, and then we didn't see him anymore. Yeah, you know. And then I recognized by myself, these are the real fast guys. Yeah, and I don't think that I had the natural speed to become successful in Formula One or something like this.
The mid 80s was a hell of an era, wasn't it? When you mentioned guys like Bellof, I'd love to be able to say I raced Bellof. Doesn't matter if he was up the road.
Yeah, I see it in a different way. If I race against someone, I want to beat him. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
True, that's true. That's why I guess you got involved in racing as a driver. You mentioned Jochen Rindt as well. Why your passion for him? Where did it come from?
His car control and his speed.
No, but can I take you back? Was
Yes.
there any motor racing in your family? Who introduced you to,
No,
the guy Jochen Rindt? Where did it come from?
It was from, of course, in school. We discussed it. As friends of mine were also interested in motorsports. And in those days, I was luckily living in Austria. The races were broadcasted live, with Heinz Brüller and so, and I watched all these races. And from these days onwards, I was more and more involved in motorsports, and had always the newest magazines. I
slow down a
remember
little
back
bit.
when I went to school,
Trucks ahead.
and Thursday the Power Slide came out in the morning. I went to the kiosk, bought the Power Slide, read it in the school, and then of course the teacher was not so happy with me, and then big discussions. I remember once it was religious, the first hour, and he said, "Toast, what do you read?" And I said, "The Bible." Bible. And he came back, and then he saw the Power Slide, and then he clashed it around my head. That the pages flew away. But this was it, because I didn't care which hour we had. When we had the new Power Slide, I had to read the new Power Slide past. I had to know what's going on the motorsports scene. This was for me much more important than anything else.
Wow. And did you ever meet Jochen Rindt?
No, unfortunately not. I was too young, and
So from that moment with Bellof in particular on track, where did you think your career was going to go next? You as a realist, you realised you weren't going to make it as a driver. Walter Lechner, I know, had a big influence on you, but what happened next?
I finished my study. I studied sports science and economics, and
That's progress, actually, that you finished. I thought you were going to say that you got straight involved in racing.
No. I worked always during holidays in motorsports. Worked in Walter Lechner's instructor, but I said to myself, no, the study you finish, and I realized, or I said to myself during the study, driving stop, because you're not fast enough. As soon as the study is finished, you start immediately working in motorsports, and this is what I did.
Slow vehicles coming towards petrol
I went to
station.
Walter Lechner and started working there. I was instructor in the Walter Lechner Racing School. I was working together with also with Roland Ratzenberger. We shared once a car together because both of us didn't have any money. If you turned us around, nothing flew out. And sometimes we were together instructor. And then I was team manager in Formula Ford, Formula 3, Opel Lotus, and so on. And was a very, very good and interesting time.
Can I ask you a bit more about Ratzenberger? What kind of a guy was he off the racetrack?
Off the racetrack, he was, as every racing driver who wants to come forward, very selfish. But we had a good relationship together, and worked also quite well together. But then he went to England, and
Gear trucks
we
being
lost
slow.
a little bit contact. I met him when he won in Brands Hatch the festival. I think it was 86 or 87, something like this. But there I stopped already driving by myself. I was there with Michael Bartels and with Formula Ford with Walter Lechner.
It was the big one, wasn't it, for up-and-coming drivers to win the Formula Ford Festival?
Yes, it was. The best drivers were on the start there. And in those days, the Formula Ford Festival was one of the highlights of the year.
What happens next? Because
Alright.
do you then meet...
Yeah, I'm getting sleepy and tired. And... Oh! Okay. There is actually a quick travel option. Did not know that. Alright, well... I will finish this up. And then tomorrow morning when I wake up, I might do some Call of Duty Modern Warfare. We shall see. I'll get a new video out as well. I've got a VOD lined up. Actually, I got a VOD uploaded. There's another one I gotta upload, and I'll release them both out. But thanks to those that have come and hanged out today. It's a nice little cruisy little drive. Get a little bit further into the game, get a bit closer to getting achievements. We'll try and do more this often. Helps when I have, I'm in lockdown, got nothing better to do. But yeah, I'll go do them sleeps, and then I'll see you guys about 8-9 hours time. If you're still around. It doesn't matter if you're not. Who knows? Who knows?